Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. This video, we are looking at the NBA playoffs for tomorrow, 1:30 start. We have 4 games on tomorrow's slate, so let's get into it. Super excited to have NBA playoffs. We can easily project, not easily, but we can now have a better sense of projecting minutes, rotations, compared to the last couple of slates of NBA. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it immensely. So let's get started. As always, appreciate if you guys would hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. If you want updates, if there are any injuries or anything like that, I post them on Twitter. It's at the DFS process. So let's get started. See if we can get 200 likes on the video. That would be nice. Starting off here at point guard, as always, Luka Doncic is 11,000. He's facing off against the Clippers team that they have a couple of really good defenders, if you're not aware. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Luka, his matchup proof, he can go off against anybody. He can drop 60, 70, even 80 fantasy points any given night. It is a spot in a slate, though, where I don't know if I will get to $11,000 Luka Doncic. There are some really nice spends. Elsewhere, there's some really nice cheap plays, like having Jokic at 87. Porzingis, his teammate, is 8,300, so he's like $2,700 cheaper. And Porzingis has been looking great, so I don't think I'll get up to Luka today. Donovan Mitchell's $8,000. There's going to be no Conley, so that's going to give him a little bit of a bump, but I'm not going to pay 8,000 for Donovan Mitchell. Kemba at 6,900. I like him a lot more on FanDuel at his price point. He's still playable on DraftKings, but I'm not gonna. I mean, he's not my favorite guy to play at point guard. Without Conley, you're gonna see Clarkson become like the best play or one of the best value plays on the slate. At just 3,800, he's probably gonna start alongside Donovan Mitchell, get a lot more ball handling responsibilities. Probably gonna get a lot of minutes without Mitchell out there as well. So Clarkson looks like one of the better value plays. I absolutely love Jamal Murray at just 6,500. I mean, he's going to be playing big minutes without Gary Harris and Will Barton. We saw what he can do. I mean, he was hurt for a couple of the scrimmage games, so he only had like one game that he played good minutes in, which was 39 minutes. That was his first game back. Went into double overtime against Utah, and he looked amazing, even though he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. But the other games after that, he shot the ball pretty well, especially in his most recent game in just 10 minutes. Made 4 or 5 shots. He's facing off against Utah. No Conley, so Conley's a good defender. We all know that. So without Conley out there, if he gets matched up against Donovan Mitchell, it's a winnable match for Murray. If he gets matched up against Clarkson, he should take him to school. So 65 for Jamal Murray. Absolutely like him a lot at point guard. Lou Williams looks pretty solid at 6,000, especially if Patrick Beverley's not going to be ready to go. I'm not really into Shake Milton at 51. I would rather go to Alec Burks at 3,900. I think he can be like another good value play, maybe less ownership because people will just play Clarkson, but you can play Clarkson and Burks if you want. Just 3,900. He's going to get a lot more minutes at point guard without Simmons, and he's been playing really well during the scrimmages. Probably will get around 20 to 25 minutes off the bench, maybe more depending on how well Shake Milton does in the starting role, but I think he could be a nice spark off the bench and be like a 7, 8, maybe 9x value guy. And that's pretty much it. If Beverly's in, you could play him. He might be limited. You could play Jackson if Beverly's out, but there's nobody else that really I'm interested in. Moving on to shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell at 8,000. Talked about him. I'm not really onto him. I'd much rather go to Karis LeVert at 7,600. Like LeVert a lot without Irving, without Dinwiddie. We saw what he can do. He's such an explosive player. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's been starting at point guard. They've been running LeVert, uh, Garrett Temple, Joe Harris, Kuruks, and Jared Allen. So that's really good for LeVert. They were starting Tyler Johnson or Chicoza some of the games during the scrimmages. I mean, during the restart, but it wasn't really working out. So LeVert is now going to be starting alongside some other shooters, which is going to help him get some assists with Garrett Temple and Joe Harris manning the 2 and 3. And LeVert can also shoot so well himself. He gets to the rack at ease, then shoot the 3, and he can get some rebounds. So 76 for a guy that has 60 plus point upside looks to be like one of my favorite plays on the day. Then you could look at like Lou Williams looks decent. Josh Richardson if you want, they're 55, but I think I'd much rather go to Burks just for a like point per dollar play. Garrett Temple, I like him at just 4,400. He's been playing really good minutes in the starting role, like 37 the last two games, and he's played pretty well. Got the rebounds, got the points, a couple assists. If he's gonna be seeing 35 plus minutes a night, 4,400, he can do a little bit of every. I mean, not gonna say a little bit of everything, but he can get some rebounds, especially with the Nets. They're really undersized right now. Jared Allen at the 5. I mean, that's not really undersized, but Kuruk's manning the 4. They're gonna have some minutes with like Kuruk's at 5, and then go super small at the 4. So Garrett Temple and also Kuruk's is not a very good rebounder. So Garrett Temple can get some rebounds, and we know he can shoot. He's gonna get a lot of open looks with teams focusing on, especially stopping like LeVert and Joe Harris. So I could see Garrett Temple be like a really good play at just 4,400. You have Joe Ingles. I mean, Joe Ingles will probably get a lot of minutes as well without Conley. He might get a lot more ball handling duties as well if you want to play him at 53. Clarkson, 38 is just going to be the guy to play at, assuming he's going to be starting. And even if he doesn't start, he's going to see good minutes. But I expect him to start. And then that's kind of it. At shooting guard, small forward, we have Luca. I mean, he always looks good at his any given day, but it's just gonna have to factoring in the pricing and factoring the salaries. I'm just not getting to him. Same thing with Kawhi Leonard. I mean, he's 9,800. If he's 98, I need 60 fantasy points. Anybody that I'm paying 10,000 plus for, I want 60 fantasy points out of, or at least close to $10,000. I want 60 fantasy points. He can get it done, but I'm just not feeling it. I love Tobias Harris, 78. No Simmons, so that's just going to help Tobias. He gets a nice bump in usage and permanent production without Simmons out there. He's going to see heavy minutes. He's going to shoot probably 20 times a game. And the matchup against Boston is a tough one, but I mean, he's faced Boston so many times last season in the playoffs and during the year. He faced 4 times. So he's going to look good. He's probably going to be like the number 2 scoring option besides Embiid. And we know Embiid how many minutes he can play. I mean, he hasn't played a lot in the 8 games. He missed a couple, but still expect Embiid to play like 32 to 34 minutes, and then Tobias could see like 36 to 38. And besides Tobias, the Boston guys, I'm not really into paying 73 for Gordon Hayward. I don't even know if Jaylen Brown is a small forward. He's just shooting guard, and he's 74. So I mean, Kemba Walker is my favorite guy in Boston just because he's under 7,000. Back at small forward, you have Josh Richardson. If you want to take a shot over there, Garrett Temple. Some of the value plays that I like, definitely Garrett Temple. Definitely Joe Harris, just 4,700 for him. And that's kind of it. I don't see anybody like below 4,000 that I'm interested in. Maybe OG Anunoby could be the guy at 3,500, but I'm gonna go ahead and put in Garrett Temple, 44. He's gonna see heavy minutes on the season. He's been like not that great in permanent production, but you got to keep in mind that's when they were playing Dinwiddie, had Irving, so he's probably like the number 3 scoring option besides LeVert and Harris, and he's gonna see good minutes. So I feel pretty confident that he could at least return 6x value. Power forward, have Tatum and Harris, have Siakam down at 7,500. Then position dies off a little bit. I mean, 73 for Gordon Hayward is not something that I feel great about paying all that much for Gordon Hayward. Horford, revenge spot for him. He's 7,200. It's just if you think that the matchup suits him. It's a winnable matchup just because Boston plays small, and Sixers are going to start Horford and Embiid alongside each other. But I could see Brett Brown like go small, but I hopefully he doesn't, and he still gives Horford 30 plus minutes. If he gets 30 minutes, I think he'll be a good value play. He's going to get a nice bump in rebounding and a little bit more usage without Simmons. He's a good passer. So 72, there's not a ton of great power forward options, so I think he looked fine. Then you have Michael Porter at just 7,100. He's been playing great. The no Harris and no Bart news is going to help him just because he's going to get more minutes, going to be starting again, and he's looked so good during the restart, and hopefully it can carry over into the postseason. And then you have some cheap options here that you could take a shot on, like a Dorian Finney-Smith at 48, or maybe Kuruks at 38. Although Kuruks he's been starting, but he just hasn't been seeing like that many minutes, and he's not the best player. Maybe the only guy that you could look at is like OG at 3,500. He could, if he's playing well, he's going to get the minutes, and he could be like a 10x plus guy. But right now I'm going with Tobias Harris at 78. He's going to shoot, shoot, and shoot. He can also get you a lot of rebounds, and he's just going to play huge minutes. I'm expecting like 36 to maybe 38 minutes out of Tobias. And just looking at like court IQ and stuff like that, you can see he gets a huge bump without Simmons out there. He's going to be the number 1 or number 2 scoring option besides Embiid. Moving on to center, speaking of Embiid, he's the most expensive center at 10-2. Now, when I saw this, I was a little bit shocked that Jokic was $1,500 cheaper. I mean, they priced Embiid in his own category, which I guess is fine, but I don't know if I would rather pay $1,500 more for Embiid instead of Jokic. Jokic has similar upside. The matchup is fine for Jokic. He's crushed Utah this year, and that's because Rudy Gobert is just not the best matchup for to defend Jokic. Like Gobert is better at defending centers that don't move outside the paint, and Jokic does all sorts of things. He shoots threes, he throws amazing passes, gets you rebounds. He can get you a triple double, and with the fact that I want to pay up for some other guys like LeVert and Harris and maybe some other guys, I don't know if I will get all the way up to Embiid. FanDuel is a completely different story, but we'll get there. And then Porzingis has looked great. He's been seeing heavy minutes. His shot's been falling in most of the games, and he likes to shoot a lot. So it's going to be the Doncic and Porzingis show. Porzingis is 8,300. He's $2,700 cheaper than Luka, and he's shown that he can at least get you like 10 or 15 points within Luka. So he could be a better point per dollar play. And then you have Horford, Jared Allen at 7K looks fine, although Gasol is a pretty good defender. He's going to make life pretty tough on Allen. And that's kind of it. I'm definitely going to be paying up at center. And I think I'm going with Jokic for now, just with the price tag on him. He's just really cheap. And then last but not least, at guard, it's going to be the guy that everybody's going to play, and that's Jordan Clarkson at 38. It's just tough to avoid him just because he's going to get good minutes, assuming he's going to start. I mean, I assume he's going to start. And the matchup against Denver, he's had some success this year. I mean, he shot the ball really well in all those games, so you're just going to have to hope that his shot can fall, because if it doesn't, he's going to be like the worst chalk play. But I'm expecting him to at least, I mean, I'm not expecting him to be terrible. I think he can get the job done, and you know when he's out there, he's going to shoot, and he's going to have plenty of minutes to shoot. And he's going to get a lot of minutes without Donovan Mitchell as well. So Clarkson looks like a really good play. And that's kind of it for DraftKings. Touched on all the guys that have my interest. So let's go ahead and move over to FanDuel. Alright, over on FanDuel, it's a completely different story in terms of pricing. So at point guard, there's a couple of cheap options, like Jamal Murray and Kemba Walker's price tags just stick out like a sore thumb. Jamal Murray 6,100, Kemba 6K. Like both of those guys can blow the price tags out of the water. Lowry 73, but I don't know if I want to pay 73 for him when I can get Kemba $1,300 cheaper, or Jamal Murray $1,200 cheaper. And then you have Shake Milton or maybe like Tyler Johnson. But I'm gonna be going with Jamal Murray on FanDuel. At shooting guard, lots of good plays. Shooting guard is like the deepest position on FanDuel tomorrow, so you're going to have to make sure you get the shooting guard right, because you're going to see some really big scores, or really big out. Maybe not scores. If not scores, you're going to see really big like per minute or point per dollar plays. At the top, you have Luka and LeVert and Paul George and Donovan Mitchell. I would go LeVert as my favorite guy, and then Luka, then Mitchell, then George. Love LeVert. Ever since he's starting at point guard now, that just gives him so much more ball handling duties. He can get you 10 plus assists and score like 25, 30 points and get you a bunch of rebounds. Or not a bunch, but at least like a handful of rebounds. So LeVert looks really good at 83. And then you have plenty of cheap plays. You have 53 for Lou Williams. If no Beverly, then you should get like 30 minutes off the bench. You have Josh Richardson below 5K. Jordan Clarkson is not much. It's not much of a must play on FanDuel as he is on DraftKings, just because he's 4,400 and shooting guard is super deep. And then you have Burks, who will go like no ownership on FanDuel. Then you have Garrett Temple, who I like a lot. At small forward, You have Kawhi, and then Siakam and Harris are the three big spend ups. I prefer Harris just based on the salaries and just based on how much usage and production I expect out of these guys. Like Leonard is probably gonna score more fantasy points, but I expect Harris to be like the better point per dollar play. And Siakam, who knows what you're gonna get out of Siakam? He's looked awful in the restart. And then you have Joe Ingles and Joe Harris, the two Joes. Flip a coin between them if you want, but I would lean a little bit slightly towards Joe Harris. He's been shooting like so well during the 8 games. And then you have nobody else that looks appealing. So that is it for small forward. If you want to play like Brown or Gordon Hayward, I could see one of them being good on FanDuel. It's always tough to pick because they're both always the same exact price, and they both seems like whenever one goes off, the other sucks. So you're gonna have to hope you get lucky when you flip that coin. And then power forward is not super deep on FanDuel. You have like 4 guys that look appealing. It's maybe 5 guys, but it's Porzingis, Tatum, Porter, Horford, and then maybe like a Paul Millsap. But I will probably go with Porter, 68. No Barton and no Harris is going to help him in terms of just solidifying his minutes. He's deserved minutes, and he's been playing a lot. Early on, you saw him play 36, 34. He played 35 in the regular relation against the Jazz, and then got 10 minutes in overtime. And then he played a little bit less. He kind of limited his minutes at the end, but expecting him to go back to playing like 34, 35 minutes. And the thing that has impressed me the most is not only is he a tremendous shooter, but the matchup here is fine against Utah. I mean, who are they going to stop? Who are they going to put on Porter? They're going to have Gobert on Jokic, and then they're probably going to have to throw like O'Neal or a Niang or somebody else that Porter has like 4 or 5 inches on and has like so much more speed against. So I love Michael Porter at 68. And then last but not least at center, FanDuel is completely different because Embiid is cheaper than Jokic on FanDuel. I'm either going to pay 86 for Jokic or 85 for Embiid. I don't see myself going to any other center. And I think it's going to be Embiid on FanDuel just because he's DraftKings, he's $1,500 cheaper. So I like Jokic there more. But on FanDuel, 85 for Embiid against Boston. We know has that history against Boston. And he matches up well with like going up against Cantor as a backup guy if he gets some minutes, and then he's going to get some minutes against Tice. And Embiid has so much, like, has at least a couple inches on Tice and probably like 20, 30 pounds. So that's it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I am looking forward to tomorrow so much, so hopefully you guys are as well. If you did, make sure you hit the like on the video. It really means a lot. I appreciate that. And good luck tomorrow.